Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. This week I thought it'd be really fun to try my hand at clay pins again. This is something that I've been really inspiring and itching to do lately, and keeping with the Mushroom Hunters themes, I'm going to be drawing the Fun Guys. Now, what are the Fun Guys? They are a group of mushroom critters which I designed when I was doing a lot of sketching process for the Enchanted Forests. That should be a video that I should really go through actually. If you want me to touch on like my learning process for doing a colouring book and for the whole process of all the illustrations, please let me know. It'd be really interesting for me to go through and actually talk about the process, and for me to show where the inspirations lie for specific things. So let me know in the comment section down below if you are interested in that. Maybe it's just my brain and the way I work, but I don't know, some people may find that interesting. So I did an Enchanted Forest colouring book earlier this year with a Kickstarter. It was really fun. Thanks to all your support, it was successfully funded and I got a lot of prints done and a lot of different things done, and I had a fantastic time creating it. And one of the ideas that I created during that process was these little mushroom things called the Fun Guys. Now the Fun Guys are a group of like sort of animated mushrooms, kind of inspired by like Fantasia, with a mushroom dance sequence and some like little cute fairy tale illustrations, I think by Arthur Rackham, a while ago, that I saw, and I was just like, oh gosh, it's just absolutely perfect. And they are just a bunch of sort of like fairy like creatures that are mushrooms that help to tend to the forest and sort of like help the forest grow in a way. They kind of appear in the Mushroom Hunters universe. Now that does seem a little bit confusing because the Mushroom Hunters, well, they hunt mushrooms, but these fairies act like little guidances, like, hey look, I know which one you're after, let me help you, and sort of act like little guides through the forest. And they are very cute, and seeing one would bring you good luck. And I've done a few things with this now. I've got a washi tape that's actually on the way with a bunch of Fun Guys sort of like boogieing. I've done some stickers and sticker sheet, and they do appear in the Enchanted Forest sketchbook as well. Sort of whole idea behind the design process, I tried a few different things. I tried eyes on the actual lid, but I like the idea that they wear the cap as sort of like a hat in a way, and like these sort of like bobble their heads almost like the spirits in oh my gosh, Princess Mononoke, the spirits of the forest, where the little heads bobble, and I can imagine like their heads bobble and they're very short and fat. I don't know, I really like the design. So I thought these guys would actually be perfect for clay pins. And I've been playing around with clay on and off for the last year or so. Whenever I'm feeling like sort of stagnated with just doing 2D art and I really want to do 3D art, which I did do GCSE 3D art. My favourite media to play around with is Modrock and Chicken Wire. For my final project on GCSE level, I built a giant tree. Anyway, I digress. I really love doing 3D things, but I don't often get the time to do 3D things, and I'm not massively skilled at it. I just enjoy playing around. And I've been watching a few of like Nerdy Crafters videos, and I was really inspired by the Art by Jazza sort of like sculpture box that he sent out. It's been really interesting to see a lot of YouTubers at the moment messing around with different mediums, and it's kind of in a way what inspired me to do these pins. Now, these aren't for sale. The glue that I used in the end wasn't the right glue to sort of cement with polymer clay, so I'm having to do a little bit more research with that. So these are not for sale, and they'll probably, if any of them do go up, won't be going up until next year with next year's store update. I'm actually not going to be doing a store update now until late January, so the stuff that's on the store now is what's available, but right now these guys aren't. So I tried two different methods. There is a method where you can carve in the design already and then sort of fill in those areas. Now, there is two methods to be able to fill in this, and I think one is more successful than the other. One is you basically can paint on the paint and then wipe on top of the surface so that the paint stays inside the crevices and doesn't actually end up on the product itself. I did not do this. I decided, do you know what? I've got acrylic pens. I'm going to actually draw inside those crevices myself. And oh boy, that took twice as long as it should have done. Definitely not the most successful way of doing that. I would recommend actually probably doing the first method rather than the second method. But my lines were quite thick for this. I reckon if I was to go back and do this sort of like carved method where I put some parts of the design erased, some parts are sunken in, I would try and refine like certain areas, maybe like make the front arm, especially on the sitting down one, a bit more 3D and the front leg, to give that 3D effect. It's kind of not successful with this, considering like some of them have raised mushrooms, some of them don't have raised mushroom caps. It sort of brings this sort of like not juxtaposition, but it's what's the word I'm thinking of, disconnect, sorry, to the actual design itself. Like some parts are 3D and some parts aren't 3D. It creates it doesn't have the illusion that I'm after. But overall, I stinking love these. I've fallen in love with these, drawing these little fungi. They're sort of like really squishy and really fun round shapes to colour in, and the idea that each one has like different caps that could represent their personality, kind of like how Care Bears have that little patch on their stomach, and like how My Little Ponies have the cutie mark. Maybe their caps would represent like their personalities. I just think it was really cute, and overall I really did have fun playing around with this. It was just a really good time. But I digress. So these are the first batch that I did with these sort of like sunken lines. I like some of them, but some are more successful than others. I feel like, especially where the sunken lines are, where I've coloured in like deep in, it kind of looks dirty in a sense because it's just not clean enough, and it could do with like, the whole process being cleaner. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and try the design where it is completely flat. So you'll actually see me using some of my old clay. This is because I have tons of this old clay left, and since I'm doing like a big old batch of them, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use up the clay that I've got, maybe mix in some of the newer clay. And because this clay is a little old, oh gosh, it takes forever to warm up, and you can see that I'm just like trying to warm the clay up and make it as malleable as I possibly can. The next thing I tried so it didn't roll too thin was a tip that I'd actually picked up from a TikTok video, which I cannot remember now, where someone had put like two things down, which was the thickness that they wanted. I tried with two pencils. It was just a little bit too thick, but got me a lot closer to the desirable like thickness of like the badges, pins that I wanted. And the good thing is with this, if anyone wants to try playing around and creating their own creations, is by already drawing out the rough outline of your design, you've already done half the work, and it would end up almost like increasing your process in a way and making your whole process a lot quicker. And I do recommend a lot of people try this out. Sculpting can be very daunting, or trying out new things can be very daunting, and I just had fun with all of this. For the last time I actually did this, I realised that my oven heats up too quickly, so I actually put all of my clay in at a much lower temperature for less time, and the clay turned out much better than last time, because last time I ended up burning them, even though I only put them in at the recommended temperature for 10 minutes. Unfortunately, it did burn the clay, so I tried a new method. It was a much lower temperature, and I checked it within the first 9 minutes and then went from there. Playing around with clay can be quite daunting for a lot of people. It's definitely daunting for me. I mean, not necessarily these are 3D art pieces. My 3D prickles and my 3D plumpkin, that was a 3D art piece. And I would like to try a 3D version of a character, but maybe not for Mushroom Hunters month. I may try that for a little different month, but I would like to keep on trying with clay because I want to get better. I want to improve. I think it's really important as an artist that we can try and improve on things that we are weak on. I'm really happy with a lot of my illustration stuff. I know that there's a lot of stuff that I can improve on, but I know my comfort zones, and I find that sometimes stepping outside of that comfort zone really helps me as an artist to not only improve but to take a break from the norm. Now, art is my full-time job. If you're new to my channel, hello, I'm Sophiralou. I do art as a full-time job. I'm a children's illustrator, and I am very happy with the way my work is going and the direction that my work has been going for a while. But I am not a stranger to the fact that it's always good for me to improve. It's always good for me to try out new things, and it's good to not always do the same thing. And yes, that may be included within my drawing format, but at the same time, it's always fun to step out and just do something different. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. That's the worst thing that can happen. Something goes wrong with your art, something goes wrong, and you can always improve on the mistakes that you make. It's just practice at the end of the day. But I really had fun with these. I was playing around with giving them all little cheek blushes and lots of different designs and all sorts, and I think these would be really fun in the Mushroom Hunters world, and it would be really fun to think of different personalities as well. We should have a grumpy one, like a really grumpy faced one, and like really happy ones, and like overduperous ones, and you know, personality wise, like some would be posh, some would be scowly, some would be grumpy, you know, some would be hyper and bubbly, and I just like to think of giving characters personalities. I don't know, I just enjoy character creation. It's always been a fun thing to process and explore. You know, you just never know where it's going to take you, and I think that's something that we should always do with our art. Just have fun with it and enjoy the creation process, and you know, just try something that scares you every now and again. I'd love to try like more stuff, but it's just having the room for it as well. I really want to play around with like proper oven, like the I want to play around with ceramics, but I know for a fact that I would not have the room for that, and at this moment in time I won't be going to go and visit any studios anytime soon to be able to go and play around with that sort of thing yet. I actually have a friend who lives in Scotland who works with ceramics, and her work is stunning. Her name is Lovable. I love her to pieces. Her artwork style is gorgeous as well. She's just an amazing artist, but she creates like little like ceramic characters, and they are just so cute. So here we are, and you can see here with the grooves, with like the first batch and the difference between that and the flat one. I think the grooves does have its charm, but it's not quite there yet. I've got a lot to improve. So to actually seal these off, I use a little bit of Mod Podge, matte Mod Podge on top of this. With the acrylic paint pens, it doesn't react with it, and because it's matte, it doesn't give it a glossy finish, which is really good. It actually helped boost a lot of the colours, which was really nice. And afterwards, the glue that I did use that I don't recommend was the IS 6000 Plus. It just did not bond very well with the polymer clay. Unfortunately, I discovered after I'd finished the project, and after I'd backed them all on the cards, and what I tend to do is as a roughness test, I put them on the back of the cards and I shake them, and because that will imitate like it being shaken around, and I will pull at it slightly, and unfortunately quite a few of the pin backs did come off, and that was after 48 hours of drying, so unfortunately it's just not bonded. Any glue recommendations, let me know. Here is some of your amazing art that you have tagged me in. I can't thank you enough for showing me all your amazing work that you've worked on. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. See you next week for another Mushroom Hunters, and as always folks, stay creative.